and every right.
Oh my God!
What's that?
Hey, oh,
What was that? Is that,
That
your
was-
new song?
that was us. That was us. I have made a new song today, actually.
I want
Hey-
to ask you about your new song the other day.
You know what's funny? How you said "stand by" just
Yes. Yeah, Standby Studio.
It's some, I can't remember, it's some comedian, I think, or it might have been you know who it was? It was Sutherland, the economics guy. Rory?
Gary.
Gary? Gary?
Essex guy Gary, the economist.
The economist, isn't he Rory something?
Oh, Rory Sutherland, yeah.
Oh no, so I mean Rory Sutherland. So Rory Sutherland,
Gary's economics.
Rory Sutherland is definitely called Rory.
Yeah.
How now then, Jackie? How you doing? Right now, why I'm saying this, I think it was him. He was telling this joke. It wasn't so much a joke; it's a true thing that's kind of amusing. Which is, he was saying that men have a standby mode, a little bit like a skybox. I thought it was quite funny that he chose. And he was saying, yeah. And I was really thinking about how much I enjoy doing that. I quite like just sitting down and having a stare. And when I look around, you know,
it's a natural state. I don't think it's standby suggests that it's like not optimal or not as good as the normal state. Maybe that is our normal state. And since we were drawn into ceaseless activity, we've forgotten, we've turned them round, that we think that ceaseless activity is our normal state and that staring is standby. Maybe it's the other way around, really. Maybe it'd be better for us.
Yeah. Or maybe it's an illusion, because like if you see social media, and I suppose even before that TV show, it's like I remember people always said, well, I've watched a lot of Star Trek, but I've never seen anybody just nip to the loo. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe because we see so much, for example, on TV or movies or social media, we think everybody else is always doing stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Where most people are in standby mode. Jackie's in standby mode.
It's a fetish, isn't it? It's an obsession to be constantly. Yeah, and that's why the movies and Star Trek and everything to do with representations of life seem to portray it as constant activity, right? It would be boring. I mean, yeah, we would find it boring, wouldn't we? And I'm sure some avant-garde filmmakers have made films that are even slower than the most boring life, just to prove that point.
Did you ever watch Big Brother?
That's a good. That's a good case in point, is it not?
Well, I had a girlfriend who was into Big Brother, and I remember sometimes I'd be sat there, and I'd be like, Kelly, that is her real name, she wouldn't mind. I'd be like, Kelly, you've been basically they're asleep.
Yeah,
you've been watching them sleep for like 2 hours. You know what I mean? And so I think that was
why she was watching them sleep, just in case something happened, right?
Just in case something happened,
yeah.
Well, I mean, or maybe that was her being in standby mode. I don't know.
Yeah, best of both worlds. I think fishing offers that, doesn't it?
Fishing does offer that. Yeah.
And your dogs do it, don't they? You love dogs, and they are in standby mode a lot of the time, aren't they? Sleeping or resting or waiting.
Not just that; it's dogs will often come and just sit and look at you.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, it can also be a little bit disturbing, because I also have a theory. Sometimes when a dog's looking at me,
you do,
because I believe this, and this is perhaps, I hope this doesn't disturb some people, but I 100% believe this. That we are constantly, and we're surrounded by crowds of interdimensional beings.
Yeah,
all the time. I think we're surrounded by them, and I think dogs can see them, and I think cats in particular can see them all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
If you've ever had a cat, you know what I'm talking about.
That's why I do, and that's why cats hate us, because they can see even more beings than the dogs can. I think the dogs can only see the positive beings.
Yeah.
And the cats can see all the whole karmic landscape of people around you who don't like you, as well as, because the dogs can only see the ones around you that like you, and the cats are agreeing with the ones who don't like you, and the ones that are being really judgmental are saying, "Oh God, he's such an idiot," and the cat's looking at the interdimensional being saying, "Yeah, he is an idiot." I mean, at least he feeds me after I've tried to trip him up on the stairs. But Yeah, and that's why cats are like they are, and that's why dogs are like they are. I think we've nailed it. Can we get that published as an academic paper?
Yeah, maybe. Probably.
Right, okay.
Now that Meta doesn't fact check anything, we can probably do anything now. But yeah, I suspect cats can see the evil kind of demons that are leeching negative energy from us, and so they see that side of us. And I think dogs only see. I saw a funny meme the other day. Not funny at all. It wasn't a funny meme, but it was a picture of a man, and it was about a 4-panel cartoon, and he would shout at his dog and hit the dog with a stick, and then in the 3rd panel punch the dog, and then in the 4th panel he was on his deathbed and the dog was there with his paw on his owner still with him. And I think that's whereas a cat would start eating you, so any signs of death
scratching your face, meowing for food,
get in.
Yes,
but that's also why we like them. Funnily enough, right?
What, the cats or the dogs?
Well, that's also why we like cats. I think we like cats for their independence.
No, I don't like. That's why women like cats. I think maybe.
All right.
Because it's a reflection of female behavior, isn't it? Scratch your face while you're sleeping. No, not that bit. although maybe sometimes that bit. But I think
when you wake up, wow, I had a dream that I was being hit or something.
There's a tea towel holder right next to your face and all that meowing. No, I think cats are like men and dogs are like women, all the idealized versions. We love a woman who would just come in and sit down and look at us in a loving way, not say anything. Just sit there all day until we're ready to take them out for a walk. That's what I'm talking about, and I don't mean that in a sexist or patriarchal way.
Yeah.
Believe it or
not. Well, I've got a lot of blonde. I've got a lot of blonde hair in my car at the moment.
I know you do. You do. Yeah. Be careful, because when the other dogs find out about that, Oh no! Again, you see, that's the beautiful thing about dogs. Another dog will get in, see all the blonde hair, won't kick up merry hell, will they? Be like, yay! It smells of dog in here. I love it.
Yeah. No fuss.
What woman says that?
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife doesn't. Right. I'm just making a banner or a sign. It's a sign, Tony. First 30 minutes of Munson and the Geeza is clearing the hose pipe, isn't it? We're catching up. We're just letting all the, it's a summer's day, and the heat has been on the hose pipe. The dirty water's in there. It's boiling dirty water, and we just have to let it off until the good stuff comes through. And that takes about 30 minutes on Munson and the Geeza, I think, by my scientific measurements that I've conducted.
Yeah, it does. I've been thinking about a few things this week, actually. Something that I read about today. You've heard about the fires in LA?
No,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I actually have. And we to be serious for a moment, we have a solidarity with LA live stream from 8:30. Mike Barton, our retired firefighter, fire investigator, paramedic. He was brilliant when we had the Portuguese wildfires, and he's joining me again at 8:30 just to see if there's anything we can do to help allay people's fears, preparedness, if they just want to get something off their chest about how worried they are, what they can do to help people back home. We're going to be there from 8:30 doing that. So yes, I have heard about it. And of all the things I've picked up on X and Twitter just recently, it's been watching the coverage of that, which, it's so engaging. The whole rubbernecking thing is right there, isn't it, for human beings? For hours, and I don't feel especially proud of that. What did you want to say about it?
I mean, there's been a lot going on. I mean, of course, I watch quite a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, and I remember the podcast where they spoke about all that's going to happen is that's going to have to happen is the wind's going to change direction, and so it's been interesting, the timing of the thing, because of course Trump also a couple of times recently has warned about the problem, and then you remember we spoke last week about things seem to be falling into place, and you don't like to.
Strange, isn't it? Strange. Suddenly, there's an Israeli peace deal today, isn't there? I mean,
they have this fire, for example, and then also it's very easy to politicize it because you had a load of things like this. Been a lot of stuff now about DEI hires, they call them, in the fire brigade.
Yes,
and I know things get presented a certain way when you watch, for example, the right wing media, but it is quite difficult to watch. They certainly seem to have not been putting the safety of LA residents first, but the timing of the fires, so and then at the moment, I think it's the chief of the fire department is in Ghana, celebrating the first Black woman president, and she's in Ghana rather than in LA where the fires are happening. And then I saw an interview with a mayor, and it's hard to say it without sounding terrible, but all the
You're
people
about to.
you know what I'm going to say something terrible, so. But the mayor, the chief of the fire department, all of them kind of just look like the same kind of overweight DEI hire. I don't know how to explain it. They just all look like the same person.
Yeah, but to be fair, there's nothing new about that, is there? Because
I know, but I wasn't seeing the diversity. I wasn't seeing the diversity.
Yeah, of course. I mean? They are a different kind of similar now.
It's a different kind of similar, yeah. And
whereas
my argument would be, well, I suppose so the woman was defending her point by saying, if you're let's say from an ethnic minority or whatever, you would prefer to be rescued by someone who looks like you. And I've never understood this. Because to me to me that sounds racist. Like in the way, like I'd rather deal with people who are like me. That to me that sounds racist anyway.
Do you know what I mean? But that does work.
I would rather be like, if someone's going to come to my house and rescue me, I want them to be a strong, competent person. Yes. I honestly couldn't care what color their skin is.
Right.
I couldn't care less. But yes. I want them to be a strong, competent person. I don't want them
chosen for a different reason.
I don't want them chosen for a different reason. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I want the strongest, most competent person. Yeah. So that was something. And then of course there's been the other side of things where I saw someone I think it was CNN. They were doing street interviews, and they asked this man, totally normal looking person, and they said to him, I shouldn't laugh, but I do think it's funny when things get on live. And they put the microphone on and said, "Oh, so what do you think's behind these fires?" And he said, "Well, obviously it's all the gays." He said that on live TV. And the CNN guys go, "Oh no, I don't know." Of course, the guy pulled the microphone back as quickly as possible, and how there wasn't enough time to stop it. Right. But yeah, and then this morning,
I'm hoping that was a gay man having a bit of fun. Actually,
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, but Harry and Meghan, you know who they are, obviously.
No,
you know.
Yeah.
Well, they rocked up in LA this morning for a photo shoot, and what was quite interesting for me, I was watching Morning Glory, I think. I don't know, one of those silly things, GB News or something.
Yeah,
and they were complaining. They said, "Oh, I can't believe Harry and Meghan, have rocked up to this fire for a photo shoot. God, have they no shame? Have they no, they don't they have any self-awareness? And apparently they don't even live there. They had to drive 200 miles to be there, which I'm thinking, yeah, that's not really that far, is it? But like, I might have gone there and did a YouTube video if I was 200 miles away. But what was interesting, of course, everyone on their panel was, except like there was one disagreeer, you know how they do it. Carl, you've frozen. Look at Carl, he's frozen. Have I frozen? Is it me or Carl? Can someone say something? Uh-oh. Is it just me? Carl's gone, right? Okay, anyway, I'll take the show. Don't worry, I can just take the show. So what was I talking about? Yeah, he seems to be having some kind of problems, yeah. But don't worry, I'll keep it going. So yeah, the channel this morning, and people are complaining about Meghan and Harry rocking up to, as they put it, have a photo shoot among the ashes. And I think some people were saying, our ashes are not your photo opportunity and all this kind of thing. But it was really funny listening to these presenters saying, yeah, so many stars live in LA and none of them turned out to get photo opportunities. Only Harry did it. Harry's frozen car. Yeah, exactly. But they were like complaining and saying, "Oh, all the other stars had the dignity not to turn up to have a photo shoot." But I suppose, who knows? Maybe Harry and Meghan really were there. We don't know what's going on as with people's thought processes. Maybe they really were there, hoping they could make a difference. I don't know. I sometimes think I'm not really a fan of Harry. I'm not really a fan of the royal family, to be honest. But I'm not really a fan of Harry and Meghan anyway. But sometimes they do seem to be getting more than their fair share of criticism. What do the chat think about Harry and Meghan? I was just saying, Carl, that sometimes I'm not really a fan of Harry and Meghan or the royal family generally, but I do think they sometimes get more stick than usual. What do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, what is it about Meghan that attracts that so vigorously? I mean, there's definitely that. Thank you, Bob and Viv, by the way. I don't know what happened. I am finding, however, on a sort of conspiratorial note, that the internet is dropping out a little more often these days. Seems to be around this time in the evening as well. Maybe Munson and the Geeza broke the internet this evening, but yeah. Definitely. And
I do notice we keep getting demonetized. Have you noticed that?
No.
And then I always appeal it, and usually after a few days they write back and go, "Oh, sorry, our mistake." And
for what reason?
I don't know. They never give a reason, and of course, by the time they reinstate it, the video's flatlined. So, but on principle, I always appeal it. Yeah, I always get a yellow dollar. They call it the yellow dollar. Your video is still allowed, but we've determined electronically that some of this content is not suitable for our advertisers. Therefore, you'll make very little or no revenue from it. So instead of getting 50 cents, I might get like 2 cents. Is Carl frozen again? He's frozen again, hasn't he? Look at this guy. Oh my God. He hasn't paid his bill. That's what's happened. Or maybe it's so cold in San Martino de Porto that the internet's frozen. Does that actually happen? How cold would it have to be for the internet to freeze? Jackie would know. Jackie, it's about -30 on the canal, isn't it? Wow, he really has gone. That's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, how has everyone been going anyway? I'm not really sure because what we were supposed to be talking about, because yeah. I do not see commercial lately, and I do not have premium. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe YouTube just doesn't like us. I've got no idea. Probably, I don't think we say anything specifically controversial. It's just sometimes there's a few words. Like I was just about to mention Andrew Tate to Carl, because I was interested to find out what his view is on Andrew Tate. But apparently Andrew Tate has been making noises that he wants to, in all seriousness, try and become the Prime Minister of the UK. So anyone who's in the UK, what do you think about having Andrew Tate as your PM? I'm not sure it's a good idea. I'm not a fan of Andrew Tate. A lot of people I know have some See, the thing is, Jackie, nobody thinks they're controversial. I mean, I don't try to be. I just try to say what I believe, and then obviously some people do think those things are controversial. But yeah, Andrew Tate, for example, very, very divisive figure. I don't like him because he's a bit. I think he's a pimp. I just don't know why I would like someone who
perverted freak. Jackie thinks.
Yeah. I don't understand the fascination. I understand that he says things that appeal to some young men. Like, it's like, all people say some correct things at some times, don't they? So, I mean, hopefully you could, because some of the things Andrew Tate says about fitness and confidence and things like that, I kind of do agree with, but I think he's so perverse that I would prefer that young people.
Seem a pleasant character, does he? I mean, if we choose some old-fashioned criteria like that, is this somebody you'd like your daughter marrying? Is this someone you'd like to hang out with? Is this someone you'd like your son? I mean, I agree with you. There are some they're not role model aspects exactly, are there? But there are there's some useful young guy advice, which previously It's in that hashtag locker room scenario, isn't it? That Trump
That's
so
right.
brilliantly
That's right.
played
Yeah.
with. And that's where it should stay, really.
Yeah,
Not on the internet in the way.
Well, I was just saying to everyone in the chat that apparently he's Carlos. Well, we hit -5 here because I walk through a valley every morning.
What the hell, really?
Yeah, -5. Yeah.
Oh.
And but it didn't rain. Don't worry. And
okay, thank you, Tony.
Yeah, he's seriously. He's saying that he wants to be the next PM of the UK.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, by that time, he might be exactly the sort of prime minister the UK deserves.
Who have we got? Who have we got at the moment? We got Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah,
she's not going to be around for that long, is she? I don't think.
I doubt it, but who knows?
But it's hard to say. I mean, the thing that for the Tories, it's very easy for them to get rid of someone. I mean, Starmer, I just don't. I don't understand what's going on. I'm trying to I'm watching so much news at the moment that's just on and on how awful he is, and yes. I'm kind of trying to make sure, is this what it looks like through the lens of a? Do you know what I mean? Like if I try and look through the lens of a left winger, am I seeing a different picture? But when I watch those channels, they're also saying very bad things about him. There's not very many people being very positive about Starmer at the moment.
Yeah, true. But I mean, there's a lot in what you said there, because you are far right curious, pretending to be a left winger, aren't you? Which is not the same.
Yeah. So I am aware of that. I think, well, if I'm watching like GB News and I'm watching, Morning Glory, and I'm watching these guys, I'm watching Paul Thorpe and all these guys. Yeah. Then
it's in a terrible mess at the moment, and we've got to do something about it.
You're not gonna get a balanced image, really. Not about anyone that's got anything bad to say about Tommy. Tommy Robinson.
Well, I think that's going to. I don't know what the right metaphor is, but it's a festering compost heap. It has no future as a system, as an institution, and I just think we're seeing the outplaying of that. It's does anyone think it's going to get better? I mean, that's the question that really, it being sort of patronizing, amuses me. All of this to me is the running down of these systems and the breakdown of these institutions.
Yeah, well,
they're on their way out.
What do we want the breakdown? Because I've got friends. I speak to a friend of mine the other day, and he's saying, "Oh, well, all the Tommy Robinson stuff aside, because people who watch my channel will know I don't idolize him or anything like a lot of people do, but I've said before, I give him a lot of credit for the work and the risk he's taken with regard to the grooming gangs. But be that as it may, then I see like Keir Starmer, as far as I'm concerned, that whole thing about the the inquiry, the national inquiry, was just obscene. Have both. Put your protections in place and have a national inquiry. And now
that seems reasonable, doesn't
it? Is it Sarah Champion? Sarah Champion, is that
amazing woman? I heard her again on the radio.
And she's broke ranks now, hasn't she? And she's calling for the national inquiry. And brave. Well, sometimes
she's already been
brave
from the Labour front bench, isn't she?
I know, but sometimes you say brave, and I think, this is not. This is look at what you're defending. This is just the correct thing to do. I mean, it seems to me to be completely
like bravery. I get it. I mean, that's what happens when the Overton window or the Spectrum.
This is how we measure. This is how we measure bravery. Somebody who wants an inquiry to be done to find out who all the nonces are. Do you know what I mean? Because this is what, to me, Keir Starmer and Labour and the people talking about this have missed the point, as far as I'm concerned. I want to know, and I want brought to justice the people who enabled it, because I want that to stop. I don't want that to happen again. So that's my view on it. Is I think we need to know who those police were and everything like that, who those social workers were, who those teachers were. Not just stop it now. I think we should go back and find out who it was and hold them to account. And my suspicion is that there's a lot of dirt inside the Labour camp. I mean, just in the last couple of days, an ex
And not
MP,
only that, and not
an,
only there and that, yeah.
an ex MP from Brighton, for example, just got arrested the other day for
Yes.
attempting to groom a 14 or 15-year-old boy, I think.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. And I'm not saying, and then you hear them say, for example, they kept on saying to Kemi Badenoch, you guys were in power for 14 years and you never did anything. And I agree. So, hello, I'm one of the people, I'm one of the, the electorate over here. Yeah, I also hate the Tories. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, this isn't a gotcha moment. I hate them too.
It's still missing the point.
And then they'll say, oh, but there's also white paedophiles. Yes, I hate them too.
Them too. Yes,
get them too.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how is this an argument between grown-ups who really care about children?
Tony. That's a very good question. And our second half, which we've now moved into, is our weirdest Portuguese experiences, which if we maybe just have sort of one more little go round on the question you've just asked, which I forget what it is now, but I think we are in the habit now of instead of getting to the point, we are chronically, morbidly, and toxically and neurotically wanting to be right. So that's why that sort of thing happens that you just talked about, is the chance to disagree with someone and be more right or righteous than they are is now more important than getting to the heart of the issue, which might be to prosecute, imprison, and find out what's really going on with people who do horrible things in our society. Everything is political capital. And that's something I wanted to say about the LA fires. What surprised me about that, and also hasn't surprised me, because, we can hold these two things at the same time, is we live in a world now, don't we, where you would have said, Jesus, the bodies aren't even cold yet. Would you mind not playing politics with this situation? And that sentiment doesn't exist anymore, does it? Everyone is steaming in with making political capital while bodies are still cooling down. Dead bodies are not even committed to the ground, and people are playing political football with their legacy or memory or what happened to them. And that is disgusting on one level. And it's also a sign of the times on the other, because it's like, it's not as if that isn't then reported. That is the news, isn't it? What he said about it, what he's saying about him, what she's saying about her and her about him. That is the news now, not how do we get to the bottom of what happened here so that it could never happen again. Some people are saying that, but it's much more juicy and preoccupying to have it more political capital.
But I think on the other side, so I think there's some of it that's been politicized, let's say talking about I don't know, Meghan and Harry and all this sort of nonsense, but and that is just a distraction. I mean, to be honest, if I'd have been advising them, I'd have said even if you're going to help, don't go, because it's just a distraction. It's just a distraction. Just leave it alone. Go there in a week when things have settled down.
I mean, that's right. The optics are what.
But on the other hand, when you look at, for example, the problems that have been caused by perhaps the powers that be, then that to me is a justifiable, because what you get on the other hand you get, for example, Gavin Newsom saying, "Oh, I can't believe they're politicizing it," and it's like, but actually, your decision,
they wouldn't be if you'd done your job.
Yeah, it's literally your politicization of the issue that's led to the problem.
That's where we're at, I believe.
So we can have it both ways, can't we? We can be trying to politicize things unfairly, but we can also be crying politicization to defend ourselves, at the same time.
If people had done their jobs,
and new scum,
it might not be happening, right? That's the thing. People are understandably being accused of not doing their jobs, so it does become a political issue very quickly. And revealed. So I guess that's one of the theories that's circulating, isn't it? That that again, that is a mainstream, not a mainstream sentiment, but it's an open sentiment now, isn't it? It shows to me, Jackie and Tony, where we're headed. We are in, and there was a great phrase. Thank you, Bob and Viv. Bob, I suspect is writing these. Everything, everywhere, all the time. Is that all at once? That's where we're going, and I think it's a symptom of the implosion, explosion of the world as we know it. If I may,
what's the solution, Carl? Because you know, I've got a lot of friends who think, for example, Nigel Farage is the solution, and I've been trying to say to people, it's like
for what? What's the problem? If he's a solution, what's the problem?
But I think especially if you're like a working class person, is how on earth do you think this guy is on your team? I mean, the other week he was at a fox hunt. He was on a fox hunt.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
There's nothing new in that, though, Tony.
Yeah, I know, but this guy's wearing a tweed jacket. He's at a fox hunt. He's got his own brand of gin.
Yeah. Well,
like,
the working class also loved Margaret Thatcher, didn't they? It doesn't follow that. What some working class conservative types, obviously not the card carrying people who,
I think this is my problem. I think a lot of people are getting sucked in by this guy.
But that's how it works. How can he be functional and have his ambitions realized without people being sucked in? There's no there isn't any intrinsic merit in what he's doing. He's a politician playing a long political game in a cynical way, and people fall for it. That is how that works, isn't it? You on that level, you can't be surprised.
I don't know. I just think that hasn't enough happened in the last couple of years to make people question things more. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
Like hasn't enough happened that people can go, this is obviously a scam. We need something completely new. We need something completely new. I don't know what it is.
Yes, exactly. And the something new is not a new prime minister or a new political party. It's a new system, isn't it? And it's the same. You know, Trump is a very good representation of this on the other side of the Atlantic. He may be delivering some people some of the things they want, and at least he's not the other people. Now, that's not a glowing endorsement for any political system, is it? That shows you that the political system that you have is crap, and it's on the way out, I would say. And the idea, and further proof of that, or to me anyway, a further sign of it, not proof. But if Andrew Tate, that's what I said. If Andrew Tate becomes the PM of the UK, that is like one of the ultimate markers of how badly that system has failed. It's an insult to what was ever good about British politics that he might do that, even though in his time and in his day and with what he might bring about might be useful and explosive in the way that Tommy Robinson is possibly useful and explosive.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yes.
I just saw a headline pop up, and I'm not going to even read it.
Well, do we need to cancel or postpone weirdest Portuguese experiences to next week?
Can I just read it? Can I just read out the headline and just say I'm not going to click it, but maybe I want everybody to tell me if you can understand why I'm not going to click this.
Yeah, go on.
Right,
good game.
This is the headline. French woman duped into divorcing husband and losing 830,000 euros in Brad Pitt impersonation scam.
Nice.
Yeah, so I may click it later after the show. Do you know I used to years ago I used to get the news of the world delivered on Sunday, but it was like reading a comic book
before Big Brother came along.
Before Big Brother, it was news of the world, isn't it? Aliens abducted my alligator or something. You know what I mean?
Something to distract and entertain, right? And why not? And why not?
It was a comic.
Click it now.
Jackie, click it now.
Click it.
I'm not clicking it. I'm okay. You know why? Because if I click it, that's the rest of the show.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I think you're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I want to ask you, we're sounding like Max Bygraves there. I want to ask you, Tony, why are you reading so much news, my boy? Why are you reading more than ever? Are you finding yourself in a little bit of a frenzied state?
Not really.
You're not. Okay.
Not really. It's a bit like do you know what I mean? It's a little bit like social media, isn't it? Like, I suppose people who watch my YouTube channel might imagine that I spend my whole day walking up and down that valley.
You
Is
don't?
that yeah, no. So I mean that might be what people think about news, but most days I don't really look at the news, to be honest. I'm pretty good at not. I'm pretty good at not looking at it, to be honest. I'm pretty good.
So,
What?
but you clearly are inspired by world events. How does that happen? YouTube.
Well, I do. I'm not saying I don't look at it, but what I'm saying, I'm not obsessed about it, and I can switch off. I can switch off. Yeah.
That's what addicts always say. Addicts always say that. Though,
I can stop any time. I can stop any time, Carl. Yeah.
Just say no.
I've got it under control.
No.
I've got it under control. Okay.
All right. Okay. I just thought I'd ask as a friend. All right. I won't pry any further.
Yeah. It's kind of rude, you know.
Yeah. Now he's offended everybody. See what happened there. Right. We shall never mention it again. Okay. Right. Shall we talk then about this? This might seem like a good moment to do, because last week it was great. We had a beautiful 30-minute segment, didn't we, of our YouTubers, and people responded, and I think quite liked that. And you had a great idea here. What is your weirdest Portuguese experience then?
My weirdest Portuguese experience. Oh my God, I should have thought more about this.
Well, you have a thing. You can pretend.
Yeah.
If you pretend to listen to what I'm about to say and just nod occasionally, you can be thinking about what you're going to share in a minute, which is normal rules for a conversation between two guys, right?
Yeah.
You're meant to listen to that bit I've just said.
Sorry, what was that? I tell you what, Carl. What is the strangest experience you've ever had in Portugal?
Oh, I'm really glad you asked that, Tony. Thank you for asking. And it just so happens to be the theme of the Munson and the Geeza live stream. It's not black and white here on YouTube and many other social media platforms at 7:00 on a Tuesday evening. It wasn't when we first moved to Portugal, but we were very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I thought. And it's probably still true, but it reflected the state we were in, that if you went somewhere and you quite liked it, all you needed to do was go into a cafe and say, do you know of anybody who's got any houses to let in this area? Right? That's a very, very simple, sweet in a way, isn't it? Modus operandi for finding accommodation. So there we were in Kinabiba Cafe. Shout out to the Kinabiba Cafe, which we eventually began to know and love. And I'm saying do you know? Oh, actually, this is the sequence of events. The owner is quite a straight-laced, serious man, and the language barrier was there, still is, but it was much more difficult back in those days. However, his lovely daughter, who was training to be a nurse, where was she being a nurse? Coimbra, possibly. Lovely girl, lovely, really helpful girl. Dad says, go talk to those people. They've got a question they asked me earlier on about a house or something around here. And she was lovely. And she said, yes, actually, I can help you with that. We've got a friend of the family, Rui, who is in real estate. And I'll give you his number. So I phone up, Rui, do you know of any houses for rent? Just so happens I do. Come back and meet me, next Tuesday or whatever, and have a look in this part of Portugal. I'll introduce you to this lady who will be interested in renting to you, possibly, see if you like it. So we go to this house. And it's a great big house with loads of furniture in it. And it would appear her boyfriend are living there. And there's an annex in the garden. And when we're first arriving in Portugal, it's got a well, Tony. It's got citrus trees. Our fruit is falling off the trees, going to waste on the ground. She says, "Oh, you must take some of those oranges with you." You know what that's like when you're here in the first few months. You're like, "Oh my God, we've died and gone to heaven. This is fantastic. This is exactly the lifestyle we're looking for. Nice, quiet village." And it turns out, while this translation is going on, she's got a lovely dog called Ralph Lauren for some reason. Ralphie Lauren was the little dog. And turns out through translation, so how much is it? And I think it's like 500
Translation,
euros.
You translated the dog, or?
No, this is we're back to the real estate agent, Rui, not Ralphie Lauren. Ralphie Lauren, as far as I'm aware, didn't speak English, although his name was Ralphie Lauren. Anyway, he's no longer with us, I discovered. Anyway, that's another part of the story which we may or may not.
You adopted the dog?
No, I used to see him in the street from time to time. I would stop and give him a lift home. But he's passed away subsequently. I found out in a recent conversation with this lady
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at the passing of the dog.
No, quite. I know you wouldn't. All right. Anyway, God rest your soul, Ralphie Lauren, the dog, not the designer.
Well, and the designer.
And the designer as well. Oh my God, really?
Is he dead?
I don't think I could go on. I don't know. But anyway, the real estate agent is translating.
We'll get through this, Carl. You're going to get through this.
The lady of the house. Could you ask her how much it will be to rent the house? It's 500 euros, let's say, for something like that. Okay, and great. And when can we move in? Oh, you can move in, a couple of months or whatever. She needs to get things sorted out a little bit, and there's a lot of furniture that needs to be moved around. And what about the annex house? Do we get that as part of it as well? Yeah, that's fine. And if we want to rent that out, can we do that? Can we rent out the annex and live in the main house? Yeah, sure, of course you can. And can we bring some furniture to store in the house before we actually move in? Yes, no problem. So great. All of that is taking place. 500 euros. Where I don't know where we're living at the time. I think we're possibly near Tamar. Yeah, I think yes, because that's right. Our youngest had only recently been born, which is quite a crucial part of this story. He couldn't have been more than a few months old, little Solomon. So I take some furniture over there and I store the furniture, and then come the day of moving in, and this is finally probably our weirdest experience here in Portugal. When we get there, she's still in the house, Tony. So,
wow.
Well, that's a bit weird. Maybe we've arrived on the wrong day. I thought we were renting the whole house. No. You're renting the annex. I'm staying in the big house, and you're renting the annex. It was about the annex. You're staying in the annex, you and your family, which had a few sparse bits of furniture in it. And clearly she wasn't going anywhere, hadn't done anything to move. Either something was lost in translation, or she never meant to move, or there was something gained by not being very clear in the translation. But we were in the annex and she was staying put in her house. But we were still paying the same sort of rent, thinking we were going to get two houses and maybe rent one of them out, or at least have friends to stay with us. So we moved into the annex. What else could we do, having vacated the house we just moved from on the same day and moved into the annex? And the plumbing hadn't been on for several years. She turned the plumbing on, and some sewage was coming up through the bidets and the toilet and that sort of thing. And my wife it's like back to the nativity story, Tony, that you told only a few weeks ago, right? There we are in this freezing house, freezing at night anyway. I can't remember what the time of year it was. I don't think it was the winter, but it was cold and damp at night. It wasn't quite where we were expecting to live. She's there. Ralphie Lauren, the dog's there. We've got a dog as well, trying to keep those two apart. We're putting all our furniture that we thought was going in the big house in the little house. Sewage is coming up through the toilet, and what a pretty pass this is. And not only in our complaining about the sewage coming up through the tap, whilst my wife is trying to nurse the infant, she decides to turn the water off at night to stop this problem of sewage backing up through the pipe. So we've got it did work, but it also meant that we had no running water. It's like it was like a water curfew. It's like, right, what's going on? We were supposed to be renting these two houses. No. It was only ever the little house that you're in. And we obviously it was one of those situations where, as a man and as a husband, you feel like you failed your wife and your family. One of the many, in fact. But it was a notable one.
They build up, don't they, over time? Yeah, those failures.
They did go in the filing cabinet. No, not really. But anyway, and that was.
Trust me, it will be brought up.
It does come up from time to time. To be fair, let's never end up in a house like that again, shall we? No. And it led to. Are
you sure you've understood what the deal is, Carl? Because you remember.
Well, the weird thing is, Tony, is we'd looked at a house a couple of weeks before, around the same time, wanting to move to this area. Oh, and this house was beautiful because it was Mrs. M's dream home. It was like a well, fruit trees on the edge of a quiet town, railway line nearby. And this is what actually happened. Our manifestation skills were good, but we obviously weren't quite ready for it. And we looked at a house a week or two before, which was covered in brambles and overgrown. It was I think a 15-room guest house that another guy I knew said, you know what? You can live in that house if you just do it up a little bit. And I thought, this is great. I'll have some of that. Went to look at it one night with Mrs. M and the 2 kids. Well, actually 3, because she'd have had the little one strapped to her. And we came away from there, and she says, there's no way I'm living in a shithole like that. You've got to be kidding. And I'm quite liking it. You know what it's like when you're a bloke. You think, I could do this, I could do that. It's massive. It's great fun. I said, really? You don't like it? She said, no. And so I put it to the back of my mind and then thought to myself, when we're sat in this other one, in the annex of this terrible place, you know that other one? That's the 15-bed house that hasn't been lived in for 10 years with all the brambles up to the front door. We could go and live in that. And she's like, absolutely. Oh, that is probably slightly better than sewage coming out of the bidet. So I went and worked there night and day for a couple of days and painted one room so we could move into one decent room of the other house. And we got out of that other place. I mean, life is amazing like that, but that was truly weird to be in a house where you thought you're renting the whole thing, and you get there and a woman standing on the doorstep welcoming you to a house she's definitely not moving out of, and there you are, you're over the road there.
Yeah, that's even worse than I thought. I thought you were just going to say that she was just staying in her plan was for you guys to rent it. She would just kind of live there with you.
Oh, I see, right?
That
could also happen, though, couldn't it? That could happen.
Yeah.
No, but she didn't get out of the house. We actually became friends in a way. What else could you do? I mean, we were so snookered and stuck. There was no point making a massive fuss or freaking out because enough damage and difficulty was already being experienced. So we just had to kind of bite down, as it were. I had to do up the other gaff, and we moved into that for a few months, which was amazing.
Yeah, you do have to be a little bit careful, especially when you buy property in villages in particular. Is quite often the boundaries are very, very blurred. And I notice in my village there's a lot of kind of under house storage that seems to be shared. I don't know if it's formally or informally, but I wouldn't want to buy a village house without really checking who owns what. And I imagine even those conversations could get a bit strange.
Yeah, like you're told not to worry about it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And then that would be difficult because I would be worried about it, and that might offend
That is the
people.
ultimate legal clause in Portugal, isn't it? Don't worry about that. It'll be fine.
Don't worry about that. But I mean, I've seen some funny ones. For example, there was one I saw where they bought a house and they moved in, and then they noticed that the neighbors kept on crossing over their driveway and driving up their driveway and using that as access to their house.
Yes.
And then they said, what are you doing? And they said, we've been doing this for years. Yeah, and they were stuck then because they were like, well, what do we do if we tell them no? And I've advised, this is something I've advised quite a few people when people have asked me about properties. So, for example, I had someone ask me, oh, we're thinking about buying a Quinta, and the people who, it's our dream Quinta, everything about it we love. But they've told us that there's 4 local people who work on it. And, normally whoever buys it keeps them on. And I'm like, walk away from that.
Yes.
Walk away from that. Because you know what? If you have to sack them, you're finished. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
No.
And to the people we were, Tony, who thought we could walk into a cafe and find a house to live in, which we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
You when you hear that, there's 4 people who work the land. Isn't that charming and nice? That'll be lovely. They'll have a bag of oranges.
Yeah. Because you have this image. I mean, Portugal's a real country, but before you kind of move here, you have this kind of romantic image of it. And I mean, I always think of Love Actually, where what's his chops comes into the bar and they're all playing music, and he's like, "I love you," and she's like, "Oh yes, I love you too." And oh my God, that's where I'm going to live.
Love Actually, yeah.
Yes. But actually, it's like tiled floors, an old dog that's about to die, and
yes,
coffee that absolutely knocks your socks off, and all that. You know what I mean?
And we love it.
Yeah, of course. But it's got nothing. There's nothing in common with that and the kind of romanticized.
You have to be that
ideal.
guy. You actually have to be that guy, don't you? You've got a great message here, Tony. Miguel,
I appreciate that, Miguel. Thank you.
yeah, but I'm a bit jealous, and my nose is put out of joint. There's probably a great Portuguese phrase for that, Miguel Caldeira, Senor Caldeira.
Yeah.
A Portuguese guy here. I like the Portuguese channel. Why don't you watch a Good Morning Portugal show as well, Miguel? It's a little bit different from the usual. There's a certain amadorism. What does that mean? Does that mean is that a sexual perversion or a type of ethnicity?
It could be. But I noticed. So Ricardo Moraes is being a bit. Yeah, he says, "I hope you understand my English," because I made a video today that I knew would offend some people. Surprisingly,
What did you do?
Well, I said, my video, I said something like, "No, you guys should learn English." but it came from a good place. Yes. And what I was thinking about was Rory Sutherland. Rory Sutherland again, who made a point. He was kind of excusing English people for not learning foreign languages because, of course, the ROI is so much lower for English people. And so what he was pointing out is like for and I know this is going to sound disrespectful, but bear with me. If you're a Portuguese person, the benefits of learning English are much higher than the benefits of learning Portuguese for an English person, because we can get by in Portugal. I'm not saying we should, but we can get by in Portugal with just English, but you can't get by in England without learning English.
Who can deny that? I mean, that's
do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And also, I would say, like, take something like Spanish or French or German. I would say that those languages, on top of being languages that would be useful if I lived in those countries, have more to offer than, say, Portuguese, because people say, wow, Portuguese, wow, look at all the countries that speak Portuguese. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, not necessarily countries that I, they're not on my bucket list, if I'm being honest. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I have traveled a little bit in South America, and I did use my very little bit of Spanish while I was there. French is in a way the second language of Europe. German, you know what I mean? It's like it's a kind of a, even though it's spoken by a lot of people, it still has the same scope of a minority language. So say, for example, like when I lived in Denmark and Sweden, and also Holland is another example of countries where they speak English at primary school and high school as the main language. So they're all fluent in English. And that opens a lot of doors, because traveling the world, I know there are Portuguese people spread across the world, Carlos, but what I'm saying to you is there's lots and lots of countries. Crypto, my goodness. There's lots of countries in the world. Like if you rock up in, I've been to like Laos. I'm just trying to think of some random countries I've been to, but I don't know, Laos, for example, you could get by. Not only in English, you could get by in French as well.
Well, another way of looking at it, Tony, is that not many people,
but not Portuguese. Portuguese.
How many people are learning Portuguese for financial reasons? Not many, until, and this being the case in point, they want citizenship, which can bring with it a financial advantage, and then they learn the language, and that is a driver, no question about it.
Yeah.
You're not saying that people should or shouldn't learn Portuguese. You're saying a fact about the culture, aren't you? Of English.
And also, another thing I'm trying to say is that I love Portugal, and I want Portugal to be successful, and I'm a part of that. I'm a part of Portugal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I live here, and what I'm saying is, I think that Portugal could do a lot better in the world if they made more of an effort to teach their children English.
I thought they did, though. I thought that was the case.
No, it's really low. It's not very good quality English lessons. Are
you just trying to advertise your service?
I tell you honestly, you might say. But again, Miguel, I see your point. You're saying Brazil, Macau, Cape Verde, Angola, Mozambique, Goa, all those countries speak Portuguese, and that's correct. But what I'm saying to you is that,
it is the fifth most spoken language in the world.
Yeah. But Angola is not like Quebec, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's not you know, I don't know how to say it without sounding disrespectful.
I don't think you're sounding disrespectful.
They're not countries that are on my bucket list. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not like, wow, I'm very glad that I learned Portuguese because now I can go to Mozambique.
No, not many people say that. To be fair,
It's not like.
No, I get your point. I get your point, and
but what I'm saying is, I think
what we do here. It's not black and white.
I think it would benefit Portugal to lift their game with regard to English, and I also think that you know, it wouldn't be a bad thing for government officials, for example. Like, look, I know it's easy for me to say because I speak English, right?
So it's easy for you to say that. Yeah,
yeah, because I speak English, it's easy for me to say things in English. No, but yes. in Hong Kong, for example, you can't be a police officer unless you speak English to, I think it's B2 level. Yeah, so most, yeah.
And I don't think anyone has any issue in our community tonight because of the way you've explained yourself. However, that's not going to spare you some possible heat on YouTube, and I can't wait to find out. You can't.
Well, I've lost some subscribers already.
That's a kind of badge of honor, isn't it? From time to time, try moving there, getting a visa. Not everywhere has an open door immigration policy. He's saying so much.
Well, no, but I saw a funny thing. Crypto actually lost me a subscriber because he had an argument with one of my subscribers on my channel.
Can you take
help? I couldn't help it because I was agreeing with his point. He was saying, he said, as soon as I get the passport.
And someone flounced today because of
someone flounced. Yeah, he was saying as soon as I get the passport, I'm leaving, and they were saying, and they were. It was very funny because the person. He had them kind of like screwed because at one point they were angry with him for being there, and they were angry with him for leaving at the same time. And so we say, well, what is it? Do you want me to do you want me to stay, or do you want me to go?
I don't know.
So he unsubscribed. So he unsubscribed.
I'll go. You stay where you are.
I'll go. You stay.
Well, you're talking. We don't know English, but here we. Yeah, no, I don't think this is in any way aimed at you.
Well, also, I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best place to. Well, maybe. I mean, we're speaking street talk. Street talk is useful. Street talk is useful. To be fair, street talk is useful. Yeah. I often do say this to my students.
There's a can of worms. He was in the clash mode.
Yeah,
as in the band or the state of.
I wanted to tell you about a strange experience, and this is an experience I had in Portugal, also very early on in the thing.
Okay, go on. Oh, hold on. Oh, I've got. Is that suitable?
No, but it'll do. It'll do.
No,
it's the opposite. It's the opposite of that one.
Okay.
What happened was we came here just very briefly. We were in Spain. My wife's Schengen visa was about to run out, so we were in October 2020. Yeah, and so we had to make a decision. Right, we knew we didn't want to live in Spain. We did. I've made a video about this, how I came to Portugal, that you can check out on the channel. So we made like a made like a pros and cons list. It was really like this because we had to think quickly. So we sat down as a family, and it was like all sorts of things. It was like safety, education rankings, cost of could we buy a house? Would we be able to buy a house? How long to the passport? All these kind of things we came up with, and in the end, it was like Portugal. Okay, Portugal came up on top. So boom, we got in the car, came over. We went to an Airbnb in is it Lagoa? I think the town is called Lagoa.
There is a Lagoa, yeah.
Near Silves, between Silves and I want to say Capoeira. That's Brazilian martial arts, but something like Carbonara. That's something else as well. Isn't it?
Oh man, come on,
something like that. Anyway, so we're in an Airbnb there, and anyway, we needed to prove our address for the camera. I had everything. I had a bag of cash. You know what I mean? I was ready.
Somewhere between Carbonara and Capoeira.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had my bag of cash and I had all my paperwork. I'd made the big box file with everything we needed and all that to go to the camera. Yeah. But because we're in an Airbnb, Airbnbs quite often they don't have a post box.
Yes.
right? So I'm thinking how to solve this. And I was saying, this is ridiculous. I can't prove the address. And I was thinking, I'm going to go buy a fucking post box from the thing and screw it onto the wall myself. But then
this is the mode we get into when we're really desperate.
Yeah. So I'm coming up with all these solutions, and then I'm going like, I just can't believe this. And then it turned out, I heard right, another way of proving your address is you can go to the Junta Freguesia. 2 Portuguese people. Listen to this. 2 Portuguese people.
That's right. The Atestado, yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly right. So everyone knows this thing, right? So I'm like, well, I don't fucking know I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody. And so far we'd met the people in the cafe. We'd only been here a few days. We met the people in the cafe, and I'm like, I want to get everything done by next week. Do you know what I mean? I want everything done.
You persuaded 2 strangers in a cafe to come with you to the flag.
Well, no, I went to the cafe and they were illegal. They were like, yeah, we're illegal. We can't help you. But we went to the bike shop because one of the things that happened on the way here, very funny, or whatever, when we were unpacking our trailer, we noticed that a wheel for one of the bikes had fallen off the trailer somewhere during the trip. So I went there to get a replacement wheel. So I kind of knew him and I'd given him money. So I went in there and I said, listen, can you be one of the, you can see we just live at that Airbnb. Can you help me? And he said, yeah. Gave me his ID card as well. Said, yeah, just give it back when you, I'm like, unbelievable.
Beautiful, yeah.
No, but when you think, oh, wow, all Portuguese people are just so lovely. And of course,
yes,
you just got lucky on but like, anyway. Then
the
next one is
to be fair, more often than not.
No, more often than not. 100% agree with you, Carl. I'm just joking. More often than not, they're just super, super people. And then I'm like, I'm desperate. And I remember saying to April, my wife, I said to her, you know what? I'm just going to go out on the beep. Ready? I'm just going to go out on the street and I'm just going to start asking people.
Yeah.
And she's gone, no. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I just stomped out onto the street. Excuse me, can you? Oh, no fella. Excuse me, no fella. 4th person, this woman. Yeah, what? How can I help? I said, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, right? But I'm a legitimate person. Yeah. I'm a legitimate person. I showed her my passport and everything. I said, I'm absolutely desperate. Explained the story. And she said, oh, I work at the finances, which I didn't really mean anything to me at the time. I work at the finances over there. She said, come after lunch and I'll sign the paper for you.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So I went there, queued up with everyone else, went in and she did everything. And then I went to the, the Freguesia. I went to the Junta. The Junta.
JDF. The JDF.
And I got the paper. And then I went to the camera and it was all good, And Steve Robinson was wrong again because you can.
No, of all the things you can say out loud, you must never say that.
He was wrong again. Well, that was the first time I got banned from there because I went on and said, I was really polite about it. I said, I just want to let you guys know that something in the files was wrong because I.
Oh, my God. Can this get any worse?
Because I said, he says in the files that you can't come here and use an Airbnb as your address. I said, well, look, it's a bit left field how I did it.
That is the law. That is the law, to be fair. But
yeah, they're a bit strict on the old law, aren't they? On that group.
Oh, yeah, all right, very good. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, some things are absolute nonsense, aren't they? You know what I mean? And
many things are absolute nonsense, as we discuss every week here. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, we went to the camera and everything was like I had, people talk about bureaucracy, and later on we did fall into bureaucracy. But I do suspect that a lot of the things that took a long time had a lot to do with COVID. To be honest, aside from CEF and AIMA, different issue. Yes. But I think a lot of the things about inordinately long time to exchange driving licenses and things like which group is Steve Robinson's? I think it's called Brits in Portugal or something.
Read the files.
Yeah, read the files. What do you think this is? Social media? You come here to chat to people? Oh my God! Read the files.
I did ask Steve if he would join us on the. It wasn't his cup of tea.
Well, no. Oh my God, no. He might. Some people might disagree with him or something. I wrote him a message, and the other thing is, no, I can't say it. I can't say it. I don't want to out him, but.
Now, fair play to Steve for all the great work he's done.
I wrote to him, and he let me back on. He let me back in the group.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
nice.
and then I was matriculating.
Long after that, yeah, you got a bit kicked out again, I suspect.
Because I was matriculating a trailer, and I noticed again that something in his file about matriculating trailers about the weight limits was wrong. Yeah, and so I pointed that out, and that was it.
You've had one warning. That's it. You're not having that sort of behaviour here, Tony. I need to prepare myself. Just if I may mention again, and I will come back to some of your lovely messages before we finish, and hope that you feel acknowledged in indulging and listening to us. At 8:30, we're streaming this Solidarity with Los Angeles.
Is that tonight?
Yeah, that's going to be live. We've got our social. You joined us on our social last week, so we'll go into our social mood after this. But this will be at 8:30, and Mike hopefully will give us a bit of an update. We'll see what's going on over there in LA at the moment. But it just seems interminable and horrific. The last figures I saw, 100,000 people on the move being evacuated. It is a horrific situation, leaving aside the politics and the conspiracy theories. It's just a horrible human disaster and tragedy. We'll see what we can do. If we can help in any way, we will. And then we'll hang out as we did last week, where we gave birth possibly to a new idea, didn't we? Expat Factor. You hear the story of somebody who wants to move to Portugal, and then you see if they go through to the next round or not. That was fun last week, wasn't it?
His ears must have been burning. Hey, I thought about that afterwards, and I know obviously he wasn't listening, but I kind of, if he wants to move, whatever help we can give him.
No, he knows that. He does.
Do you know what I mean? Like whatever. Like he's a grown man. Whatever his motives are, he's
God help. Yeah, God help those people.
Yeah, horrific. It's horrific.
Miguel,
and I can't imagine losing your home, even if it's insured or whatever. It doesn't bring back all those kind of.
I mean, the devastation is off the scale, isn't it? There, it's just, and it's ongoing. It's not like it's resolved yet. I have already pretended to be English here in Portugal just to see the reaction. You rascal, Carlos! I think it's a good idea for a channel. It is. We'd come and film you doing that. We can have a right laugh doing that, Carlos. Tony, what I'm confused about is why they let you in these groups in the first place.
I'll tell you why, Jackie. Because I'm not being funny. A lot of people, I get engagement happening on those groups, but then in the end, some lefty snowflake complains to the mods. That's what
right,
happens.
And the toxic Tony gets booted out. We can now. So highlights of the evening. We can. So instead of not watching TV, humanity in its wisdom created a TV you could take to the toilet for a moment. Isn't that lovely? On our phones now, aren't we amazing? And Eileen, sorry we didn't make more contact with you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching our Moment show as well with me and Mrs. M. This I know it was we were talking very broadly and scandalously about cats and dogs earlier on, but this is beautiful. When my husband was in the hospice with bone cancer, the only touch that didn't make my husband scream in pain was my cat's paw, and I actually believe that's true. The purr of a cat. And their healing ability is amazing.
Well, everybody knows if you've had a cat and you feel ill or you feel like down in the dumps, the cat will come and lay next to you through that time.
And soak it away almost, right? We'll do you some sort of healing thing with you. It stayed that way until he passed. How beautiful, Eileen. Thank you for sharing that with us. And that's a lovely thing to be able to speak of and share.
That reminds me of something. Have you finished?
I've got a few more comments. When I moved into the boat, I'm now on now. The old owner wouldn't go, so I packed his stuff, took it to the pub with some money over the bar, then phoned his wife and said he's not coming back. She was gutted. The worst. Okay, particular kind of neighbours there, Ricardo. And Jackie has a different view on that. And there was that thing about the filing cabinets. I think that you also said, Ricardo, about. Women's ability, wives especially, their ability to file things. What's that? That was really quite funny earlier on. Here it is. No, it's not. Your wife's. Yeah, the wives always keep a black box of all our failings so they can use it later like a Pandora box. And in the same way, only hope abides by the end of it. And yeah, the little black boxes come in very handy. Jackie knows about that. And yes, the Urdu, learning Urdu. I heard that was a Scouse girl who thought she was going to a hairdressing class when she went to Urdu. Okay, Tony, what happened? Did something weird happen to you this week? Did you say?
No, it just made me think about what happened with the cats because I accidentally ate the cat's medicine.
Hold on a minute, Tony. You mean to say you nearly ate the cat's medicine?
Yeah, I ate the cat's medicine. Don't
the cat's medicine.
Yeah, don't ask meow.
Munson and the Geeza. Munson and the Geeza. Reporting from the scene. Munson and the Geeza. News in every ride.